Have you ever walked into a room, flipped the light switch, and expected the light to turn on? You didn't care how the electricity flows through the wires, you just wanted the result. That's exactly how React works. You describe what you want the UI to look like. React figures out how to make it happen. Today we're covering every core React concept, not just what they are, but why they exist. By the end of this video, React will finally make sense. Let's get started. Before React existed, building interactive web pages meant doing everything manually. Say you had a counter on a page. Every time a user clicked a button, you had to write code to find the element on the page, update the number inside it, and make sure nothing else broke. For a simple counter, that's fine. But imagine a real app, a shopping cart where the item count in the header, the subtotal in the sidebar, and the checkout button all need to update when you add something to your cart. You'd be writing code to manually update 5 different places every time something changed. And if you forgot one, bug. If you updated them in the wrong order, bug. If another developer touched the same element, bug. This is the problem React was built to solve. React's big idea is simple. Instead of telling the browser how to update the page step by step, you just describe what the page should look like based on your data. React handles the rest. Think of it like ordering food at a restaurant. You don't go into the kitchen and cook it yourself. You tell the waiter what you want, and the kitchen figures out how to make it happen. That's React. You describe the UI. React figures out the steps. Now, how does React let you describe a UI? Through components. Think of a component like a Lego brick. A single brick isn't very impressive on its own, but combine enough of them in the right way, and you can build anything. Every React app is built from components. Your navbar is a component. Your product card is a component. Even a single button can be its own component. And here's the important part. A component is just a JavaScript function. That's it. A function that returns what you want to show on screen. But what makes components truly powerful is that they can receive data. Just like a function can take arguments, a component can take props. Now, instead of building a separate button for every situation, you have one reusable component. You pass in different props and it adapts, and components can contain other components. Your product card might contain a button. Your product list might contain many product cards. Your entire app is one big tree of components, each doing one job well. So when you're building in React, always ask yourself, what's the smallest piece of UI I can make reusable? Now, you've probably noticed something strange in those examples. We're writing what looks like HTML inside a JavaScript function. That's not normal JavaScript. This is called JSX. JSX isn't real HTML. Your browser can't read it directly. Under the hood, React compiles it into regular JavaScript function calls, but you don't need to worry about that. Just think of JSX as a cleaner way to describe your UI. There are 3 rules to remember. Rule 1, use class name instead of class, because class is a reserved word in JavaScript. Rule 2, every element must be closed. Rule 3, a component can only return one root element. If you need to return multiple elements side by side, wrap them in an empty tag called a fragment. And here's the most useful part of JSX. Curly braces let you drop any JavaScript expression right into your UI. Whatever is inside those curly braces gets evaluated and displayed. String, number, function call, anything. So far, our components are static. They display data, but nothing changes. Real apps change, users click buttons, forms get filled. Data loads from servers. This is where state comes in. Think about your phone's battery percentage. It's a piece of data that lives on your phone, changes over time, and whenever it changes, the display updates to show you the new number. That's exactly what state is in React. Data that lives inside a component, and when it changes, the component re-renders to show the new value. Here's the simplest example, a counter. We import useState from React. useState gives you 2 things, the current value, count, and a function to update it, setCount. When you call setCount, React automatically re-renders the component with the new value. The button calls setCount on every click, and the new count shows up immediately. Let's see that in action. Click. The count goes up. Click again. React re-renders with the new value. That's the whole loop. useState is the most important hook in React. So what exactly triggers a re-render? Whenever you call a state setter function, React schedules a re-render. It runs your component function again, builds a new UI description, compares it with the old one, and updates only what changed. React is surgical. It only touches what needs to change. Nothing more. This is what makes React fast. Now there are 3 things that catch people off guard with state. First, state updates are not immediate. when you call setCount, the count doesn't change right away. React batches updates and re-renders at the right time. Reading count right after setCount gives you the old value. If your new state depends on the old state, use the function form. This guarantees you're always working with the latest value. Second, state is isolated per component. If you render 3 counter components on the same page, each one has its own independent count. They don't share state, they don't interfere with each other. Third, never mutate state directly. If your state is an object or array, you might be tempted to do this. State.name equals new name. React won't see this. Don't. React won't know anything changed, so it won't re-render. Always create a new value using the spread operator. This creates a new object, and React detects the change and re-renders it. So every time state changes, React re-renders your component. But if it's rewriting the page every time, wouldn't that be slow? This is where React is clever. React never directly rewrites your whole page. Instead, it keeps a virtual DOM, a lightweight copy of your actual page, stored in memory. Here, the virtual DOM and the real DOM side by side. When state changes, React builds a new virtual DOM tree. Then it compares it with the old one. This comparison is called diffing. React figures out the minimum number of changes needed and applies only those to the real page. Think of it like a spell checker. Instead of retyping your whole document when you fix a typo, it finds just that one word and changes it. React does exactly that. 1 highlighted node out of 10. This is why React feels fast, even in complex apps. All the heavy comparison work happens in JavaScript memory. The slow part, touching the real DOM, is kept to an absolute minimum. And this is exactly why key props matter in lists. Here's a list rendered with map. Without a key, React can't tell which item is which when the list changes. With a stable key, React tracks each item across re-renders and updates precisely what changed. Always use a stable, unique key, like an ID. Never use the array index as a key. Components render, but sometimes after rendering, you need to do something outside of just showing UI. Fetch data from an API, set up a timer, subscribe to an event. These are called side effects. Think about a kitchen timer. Your main job is to cook the meal, but you set a timer as a side effect, something that runs in the background and influences what happens next. useEffect is the hook that handles side effects. Here's what it looks like. The first argument is a function containing your side effect. The second argument is the dependency array, the list of values your effect depends on. When any value in that array changes, the effect runs again. React watches those values for you. You just declare what to run and when. There are 3 ways to use the dependency array. No array at all. Effect runs after every single render. Empty array. Effect runs once, right after the component first appears on screen. Array with values. Effect runs whenever those specific values change. Most of the time, you want one of these last 2. Choose based on what your effect depends on. Now here's something important. Some effects need to be cleaned up. Imagine building a stock ticker that fetches new prices every second. You use setInterval inside your effect to make that happen. But what if the user navigates away from the page? That interval is still running in the background, fetching data for a component that no longer exists. That's wasted resources. Over time, it causes memory problems. This is exactly the problem useEffect's cleanup function solves. The function you return from your effect is the cleanup. Here, return an arrow function that clears the interval. React calls this automatically when the component is removed from the screen, or just before the effect runs again. Think of it as an automatic off switch. Always use it when you set up timers, event listeners, or WebSockets. Sometimes we need to store a value that persists across renders, but shouldn't cause a re-render when it changes. State would re-render. We don't always want that. That's what useRef is for. Think of it like a sticky note on your monitor. It's always there. We can read it and change it anytime, but changing what's written on it doesn't trigger any reaction. useRef has 2 common uses. First, accessing a DOM element directly. We attach the ref to an element using the ref prop. Then inputRef.current gives you the real DOM node. We can call methods on it directly, like focus, autofocusing an input, scrolling to an element, measuring size. Second, storing a value without triggering re-renders. Assign anything to timerRef.current. React won't notice. It won't re-render. Perfect for timer IDs, previous values, or mutable data. The key difference to remember, state is reactive. Changing it triggers a re-render. Refs are inert. Changing them doesn't trigger anything. Same concept, very different behavior. Props are great for passing data from parent to child. But what happens when you need that data 5 levels deep? You'd pass it through every component in between, even the ones that don't need it. They're just passing it along. This is called prop drilling, and it's painful to maintain. Context solves this. Any component inside the provider can access the value directly, no matter how deep in the tree it lives. Think of context like a Wi-Fi signal. You set up a router, the provider, and any device in the building, any consumer can connect to it directly. No need to run cables through every room in between. Context has 3 steps. First, create the context with a default value. Second, wrap your component tree in the provider. Pass the value you want to share. Third, consume it anywhere inside. UseContext gives you the value directly. No props passed down, no intermediate components. The data jumps straight to where it's needed. Context is perfect for things like the current user, app theme, language settings, or authentication status. Data that many components need, but that doesn't change very often. But here's the important warning. When the context value changes, every component consuming it re-renders. So if you're putting fast-changing data into context, like something that updates every second, you're going to have a performance problem. For frequently changing global state, you'll want a dedicated state management library like useState or Redux. Context is for slow-moving global data. Every time a component re-renders, everything inside it runs again. Every variable is recalculated. Every function is recreated. Most of the time, that's perfectly fine, but sometimes it's expensive. Imagine filtering a list of 10,000 products every time anything on the page changes. That's a lot of unnecessary work. useMemo lets you cache the result of an expensive calculation. Here in the example, we are filtering products by price. Without useMemo, this runs on every single render. With useMemo, the result is cached. It only recalculates when products actually changes. Not on every render, only when the dependency changes. Same dependency array pattern as useEffect. Declare what it depends on. React handles the rest. useCallback does the same thing, but for functions. Why does this matter for functions? Because in JavaScript, a function created on one render is not equal to the same function created on the next render, even if the code is identical. So if you pass a function as a prop to a child component, the child thinks it received new props every render and re-renders unnecessarily. useCallback keeps the function reference stable across renders. This works hand in hand with React.memo, a wrapper that tells React to skip re-rendering a component if its props haven't changed. Combined with useCallback, the child only re-renders when it actually needs to. Stable function reference plus memoized component. A powerful combination for performance-critical trees. But here's the honest advice. Don't reach for these by default. Memoization adds complexity. Only use it when you've actually measured a performance problem. Premature optimization is one of the most common mistakes React developers make. Let's say you're building a weather app, a news app, and a user profile page. All 3 need to fetch data from an API, show a loading spinner while waiting, and handle errors. You could copy-paste the same logic 3 times, but that's messy and hard to maintain. There's a better way to solve this problem. This is where custom hooks shine. A custom hook is just a function that starts with the word use and can call other hooks inside it. Here's useFetch, a custom hook for data fetching. It manages 3 pieces of state: data, loading, and error. A useEffect runs whenever the URL changes. It fetches the data, parses the JSON, and updates the state. It also handles any errors along the way. Finally, it returns all 3 values: data, loading, and error, packaged up and ready to use. And that's it. That's the entire hook. Reusable fetch logic in just 20 lines. Now any component in your app can use this. One piece of logic used everywhere. No duplication. The hook handles the complexity so your components stay clean. This is how experienced React developers think. The component only worries about rendering UI. The hook handles all the logic. Separation of concerns. Built right into your functions. Whenever you find yourself copying the same stateful logic between components, that's your signal to extract it into a custom hook. So let's bring it all together. React apps are trees of components. Components describe UI using JSX. They receive data through props and manage changing data through state. When state changes, React re-renders the component, uses the virtual DOM to find what changed, and updates only that part of the real page. useEffect handles side effects after rendering. useRef stores values without causing re-renders. Context shares data across the tree without prop drilling. useMemo and useCallback optimize expensive re-renders. And custom hooks let you share logic across components cleanly. That's the complete picture. If you want to go deeper on any of these concepts, especially useEffect, which has a lot more nuance, let me know in the comments what you'd like to see next. Subscribe so you don't miss upcoming videos where we break down more React concepts like this. Thanks for watching.